Today we are gonna color some blueberries, and I chose the three colors. This time I used the Faber Castell colored pencils, and chose these three colors: 110 as the light color, 151 as the base color, and 157 as the shadow. So let's get started. Start with this color. And because the surface of a blueberry is very smooth, so we're gonna leave a highlighted area. That is a blank area for the highlight. Usually the smoother the surface is, the more light it's gonna reflect, and that's why we need to leave this highlight area blank. So okay, we'll just cover gently with this number 110. We'll go over again, still very gently. Okay, now we move on to the next color, number 151. We'll start from the edge and gently working toward the center. And when you get closer to the highlighted area, remember to go very light so that the transition is smooth. And as we're coloring, we start to think, or even before, our light source, since the highlighted area is here, so the light comes from this direction. So the light is here, and the shadow, the darkest area, should be here, around this area. So we'll make this area a little bit darker than the rest. I think for the Faber Castell color pencils, remember at the first or the second layers, we did very gently, and also the third layer, and we'll go over again. This is the fourth layer. So as we do the fourth layer, you start feeling you need to apply more pressure, and you start to get a burnish feel. There's something amazing about Faber Castell is it holds a point, and it can also apply multiple layers. This is something the budget colored pencils fail to do. All right, Now we move on to the darkest color, number 157. It's a dark indigo color. So since this is our shadow area, I'll just emphasize the shadow of the blueberry. Okay, so that's the main part of the blueberry is done. And for this part, we'll just use a dark indigo to emphasize the line there. And just leave a tiny little bit of the white space at the top. And go over this part, we'll do the same thing. We'll cover it with this. You can apply hard pressure for this one and leave some white space. So the top part is done. That's our blueberry. So now these three blueberries clutter together. How are we gonna handle the light and shadow for this one? So for this one, you see where this part meets this part, we'll leave a tiny white space like here, because this part is gonna be dark. To emphasize this shadow in here, if we leave it here, a little bit of like a white space, it's gonna emphasize the shadow here more, so the contrast looks more obvious. Obviously this part is not white in real life. However, we can manipulate the light a little bit on the paper. So I just did the light color, and now we are going with the number 151, and this is a base color, and this is the third layer. I'm just gonna finish this first blueberry so that I can decide how dark this shadow and how dark this shadow would be. I'll go over I'll do the one first, and the one that's being blocked, this one second, and this one that being blocked by both of these two blueberries. I'll do this the last, because this one should have the darkest and largest area of shadow, and the shadow is gonna be darker than the shadow on this blueberry. So that's why I leave it the last, so I can decide how dark it need to be. And now we're using number 157. So this is our first blueberry, and now we go to the second blueberry. So because this blueberry is darker than this one, I'm not using too much of this number 151. I'm gonna use a little bit more of 157 so that the one at the back is darker than the one in the front. Now where this first blueberry blocks the second blueberry, this part should be really dark. We'll just go over using some pressure and make this area, like this little area, darker. So now you can immediately you can see this one is in front, this one in the back, and this part is darker. Now we move on to the last blueberry, and we'll go back to number 151. So because this part is really dark, I'm not gonna even use a lighter color 151 in that area. So now I use number 157, my darkest indigo, the dark indigo color. I just go over this spot to create the shadow here. Okay. Well, now we handle this part. Mostly just use the dark indigo number 157. I'm leaving a little bit of white space. This one too. Right. I'll just repeat. I will leave a little bit white space right here as well. All right, that's our blueberry.